As a detective descended the stairs inside a Dayton, Ohio house to serve a search warrant, one of the suspects pointed a gun and fired. Jorge Del Rio, a 55-year-old Mexican native and Indiana University graduate who dedicated 3 decades of his life to the Dayton Police Department, collapsed in front of his fellow drug officers. The husband, father of 5, and grandfather, who once thwarted a double murder plot, died 3 days later. Because he had decided to be an organ donor, itself an act of public service, his kidney saved a woman's life. Del Rio spent nearly 20 years as a task force officer with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and was shot while targeting traffickers peddling cocaine and fentanyl. The Ohio drug ring is connected to a large cross-country drug network based on the West Coast and supplied by the infamous Sinaloa cartel. Jared Forget, special agent in charge of the DEA's Washington, D.C. division, told the Carrier Journal. We were able to fully identify the drug trafficking organization from California to the Ohio one. The same people responsible for killing the TFO, Del Rio, and take that whole thing out, Forget said. Forget briefed reporters Wednesday in Washington, D.C. about the multi-million-dollar network that saturated American neighborhoods with as much as 99 metric tons of drugs since 2017. During the investigation, agents intercepted as many as 21 million potentially lethal doses of fentanyl, the top illicit drug killing Americans during the deadliest drug crisis in the nation's history. Sinaloa cartel members across the border in Mexicali, Baja California, and throughout the state of Sinaloa on Mexico's west coast sent millions of dollars of drugs into the U.S. to supply the large network, court records show. Mainly, they preferred stashing the drugs in the middle of legitimate shipments on semis or hidden in cars and trucks and driven through a legal point of entry at the border of Tijuana and San Diego, according to investigators. Cartel members are accused of bribing corrupt government and military officials in Tijuana to get their products safely to America. If there was a concern, the cartel pivoted and used the entry point of the border of San Luis, Arizona. Agents zeroed in on 2 men they considered to be major players, blamed for an influx of drugs to the D.C. metropolitan area. The first one, Maryland resident Roger Vincent, 42, pleaded guilty in 2019 to trafficking cocaine and heroin. According to police, he had a stash house in D.C., where DEA agents found cocaine, heroin, and a handgun modified to function fully automatic, allowing a rapid burst of fire. Investigators arrested the other men they labeled as major area supplier, Romaine Anthony Dixon in Virginia, in February 2020. Inside his car, police found 25 kilos of cocaine and more than $11,000 in cold hard cash. At Dixon's residence in Camp Springs, Maryland, law enforcement found more than $1 million in cash, jewelry valued at more than $244,000, a kilo of cocaine, a kilogram of fentanyl, 3 firearms, and body armor piercing ammunition. 5 months after his arrest, Dixon, 32, pleaded guilty to trafficking 5 kilograms or more of cocaine from May 2019 through February 2020. Dixon typically traveled to California every 3 to 4 weeks to buy $500,000 worth of cocaine for Mexican cartel associates. He and his co-conspirators would then ship the drugs in large crates to the greater D.C. area. In January, a federal judge in Alexandria sentenced Dixon to serve 11 years and 8 months in prison. The investigation led to the largest ever seizure in London County, Virginia, netting more than $6.5 million in drugs, guns, and cash. According to Forget, the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, which helped investigate the case, the seizure included 50 kilos of cocaine, 1 kilo of heroin, 2 kilos of fentanyl, and 100 fentanyl pills, which are made to resemble prescription pain pills, but are much more lethal. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like button, and make sure you share the video. I got a special guest on today. Nucci, tell the people who you are, man, where you're from, and we're going to talk a little bit about you, a little bit about your father today.
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me on. I'm Nucci, straight out of DC, DMV area. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop artist. You know what I'm saying? Doing my thing. Front porch freestyle originator. You know what I'm saying? DC.
Nucci, how old are you?
26.
26 years old, and I know about your dad, right? Your dad was arrested by the feds. It was a major case. Talk a little bit about your father, man.
Man, just one of the, you know what I'm saying? I feel first of all, I feel blessed for having him as a father. Like I feel lucky to, you know what I'm saying, to have somebody like that to be able to guide me through a city like this and through an industry like this and just through life period. Because a lot of people make the wrong decisions, and I ain't really seen him make too many wrong decisions. And I seen him, you know what I'm saying, take care of me and 4 other kids and a bunch of other people's kids. Just, you know what I'm saying, out of the kindness of his heart, and you know what I'm saying, just being a provider for a bunch of people and being a pioneer for hip hop in DC. Like he was doing DC, he was doing hip hop while everybody else was doing go go early in like 2000, 2001.
So your father was kind of like the pioneer for rap music in DC, right?
For sure. One of them. And if you know what I'm saying, you ask around, most people won't say that.
People watching the show right now, they're like, "Well, who's his dad? What's your father's name?"
One Way Booby or Booby, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Known by both of them, but One Way Booby if you Google them. But Booby outside, like you go outside, say Booby, they you ain't gonna hear nothing but good shit. Even since he been in, every time somebody come up to me, they just got a story to tell me about some interaction that they had with him that, you know, left an impact on them or somehow got them in a situation or through a situation.
And I know that they kind of tie your father up in this this cartel type of case, right?
Right. Which is crazy. It was like during the trial, I didn't hear nothing like that. Didn't hear anything like that. No cartel mention or nothing. Probably like a year or two after he'd been in already from watching the news, and they got him like, you know what I'm saying, on the like the board where they time people into people and like that, and they try to put him with the cartel shit. But the case was like that was never discussed in court. So I don't even understand how that works, to be honest.
So, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about this, right? I mean, there's a case where there's like millions of dollars in cash seized, bunch of drugs, numerous kilos of cocaine, right? And
Mm.
really, they're not talking about your father being connected to the cartel at that time, but I know something happens in Ohio. And I think when, the stuff happened in Ohio, a cop ends up getting killed, it has nothing to do with your father. But that's when they start trying to put the stuff back in the news, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it seemed like it happened. Some had happened, and then they talked about it again, but it was like they just automatically pieced it together, and like I ain't. It didn't make no sense to me after being at the trial throughout the whole time. Like that was never brought up. So how did you bring that up now?
Well, I mean, this is what the government does sometimes. You
For
know,
sure.
on my channel, a lot of times I interview dudes that been in prison, people in the street, people that been affected by addiction or prison, prison type based stuff. But I never brought someone on where it's like, yo, man, your father's in federal prison. What is it like for you? So you're out here, you're doing your thing. I know you're back and forth in Atlanta. You got a bunch of videos out. I know you've been around people like Gucci Mane. I know your father had brought him to DC, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen you with the rapper Lil Baby. You got a bunch of videos out. And then your father ends up getting arrested, man. What is it like for you when your dad gets arrested?
All right. As from the, I got two positions on it because he's also my dad, but also CEO of the label. So on one end, it's, you know what I'm saying, my dad is being taken away from the family. And the other end, my CEO is gone. So now I have to step into this position and figure out, you know what I'm saying, the moves to make with the music. And also being the oldest kid of his 5, I have to figure out, you know what I'm saying, how to move forward. And he went in when I was 20, 23. So I'm already a grown man. I got the experience. I got all his teachings, not all of them, because you never teach everybody everything, but I got most of them, and it was instilled in me. So my problem was that my younger siblings won't be able to learn from him hands on. They had to get it from me or my younger brother's like 2 years, 1 year under me. But uh he kind of prepared me and my younger brother, who's also my DJ. He kind of prepared me and him. Like we left the club one night and he just told us in the kitchen. He's like, Man, they might run up in here any day. You know what I'm saying? I need to make sure that y'all prepared to handle it. So it was kind of like, I'm not gonna say I was prepared for it, but he definitely made sure that, you know what I'm saying, this was a possibility and this could happen. So it was something that we were not ready for, but it's like an audible thing, like an audible in the play. You don't want to have to switch to this play, but if you got to, we can. And you know what I'm saying, we probably could score off of it. So that's pretty much what it's been like now. Since we figured out, you know what I'm saying, what areas we had to fill in, and you know what I'm saying, being able to carry the torch. But as the that's the music side, and the family side is still kind of like, I definitely, it's definitely missing. Like a lot of people scattered once he went in. So it was like, it wasn't the same. It wasn't that same family vibe on the music side. The family never changed, but the music side was definitely like a lot of people scattered. So it was like, I really had to figure out how to get it on my own, or how to figure out how to navigate it on my own. I could talk to him on the phone, but it's not the same as having him there.
Let me ask you this: your father, you know, you're a young man. He goes to jail, but were you always with your dad all the time? Was he kind of like your dad, but also your best friend?
For sure. For sure. Me, my brother, and my dad, even before my little brother came, because he's like 2 years younger than me. So I was outside a little bit before him. But it's pretty much like that's how we moved. If we going out of town, we going to the club, we going to the family function, like that's pretty much how we was moving. So it was like he's my dad, but like best friend, like a brother as well too. You know, they had me at 18, so it was like we kind of grew up together. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. So when your dad goes to prison, do you feel like a piece of you is missing in your heart? Forget about the music stuff. I'm talking about that's my dad, that's my best friend. He's gone.
But
How does it affect you?
for sure, it's definitely like and it's kind of hard to separate the music sometimes, because it was like that's what got us super tight, because that was the reason why I was traveling with him, and you know what I'm saying, that's what helped with the glue that kind of got it a little tighter. But as far as like a man, like I just feel like I said, I felt like I was more so hurt for the younger ones, because like I said, I got to experience and him as a dad, as a kid, and as a dad as an adult, and as a friend and all that. So for me, honestly, like I'm just grateful that I got to experience, and I know that, you know what I'm saying, he can still come back. He's gonna be back, but it's just a lot of stuff that's missing. Like, you know what I'm saying, kids getting older, there's other kids getting older. Like it more so hurts me that he's missing that more so than me missing him, to be honest.
And your father ends up, I know he was at Fort Dix, right?
Mm.
Ever tell you about what it was like to be in Fort Dix, what it was like being in federal prison?
Yeah, to be honest, he said Fort Dix was kind of like a camp. So where it was, he said it was like a camp or a low or something, and that was kind of lax. It was kind of lax there Fort Dix compared to where he's at now. Like like even like the visits were lax. Like it wasn't no screen. We were in a room with a bunch of other people. Like it should look like even pulling up, it looked like a camp. Like it looked like a summer camp. Like I seen prisoners outside doing their thing, and I'm like, okay, this is, I ain't gonna say this is cool, but this is like, you know what I'm saying? He's in a spot where it's not as harsh as you would think it would be.
It's a lot less secure there, but then he ends up going to Otisville. What did he get transferred for? Do you know why?
I once there was a phone. It was just a phone, and they even prolonged that. They prolonged that and eventually transferred him. Didn't even have no. They took his visits away at first for like a year, and then they ended up transferring him. And I still haven't been able to go to Otisville because COVID hit right after that. And then they were being funny with the visitation, and then after that, it was something else going on up there. So they blocked it off again. So I still haven't been able to see him in Otisville.
So your father was a pretty well respected dude in DC, right?
Sure.
And you're a young man. You're growing up in DC. I know you transitioned back and forth different places in Baltimore and all, Maryland and all that, right? But growing up in DC, what's it like growing up in DC, man, for a guy like you?
Man, for me personally, it was it was like it was exciting. Like it felt like something. It felt special. Like it felt like DC was like a place to be. Like I was able to view it from, you know what I'm saying, like his hip as a youngin. Like I was able to see it from that perspective, and see the respect he get, the type of events we going to, the people we around, and just like the love that's being shown. And like so much, it was like even back then it was this early 2000s, so it was a lot of black shit going on. And now it's a little more, you know what I'm saying, gentrified. So it's not as many events or like them things that we would go to going on like that out here anymore. Even like the music festival was called Broccoli City instead of Chocolate City. This used to be called Chocolate City, now it's Broccoli City. But it was special to me. It was also like eye opening. I got to see a lot from a young age, from, you know what I'm saying, life shit to street shit. I got to experience a lot of loss at an early age. I got to experience a lot of lessons at an early age. Even if it wasn't firsthand for me to experience, I was around so many of those older, you know what I'm saying, street dudes that with good head on their shoulders. So it was like I'm learning how to navigate the streets, even though they're pushing me away from the streets. But I still understood. So
You know,
it
go
was a
ahead.
special day.
I'm sorry. You know that's where I was going with this, right? I mean, I read a bunch of stuff in your father's case. I know there was a previous thing or case with a robbery, and I think that he ended up beating that or something happened with that. But obviously your dad once upon a time was a street dude, right?
For sure.
And did he wanted to keep you out of the street, correct?
Yeah, from the jump, that was always the goal. So like once the music thing started kicking off, like he full fledged, he damn near stopped. He damn near stopped doing music once I started doing it to push me fully. And then pretty much the rest of the whole Old Boys organization pretty much shifted to pushing my stuff because it was geared in a different way than they shit was. And it was gaining traction. So like their sacrifice kind of, well, I learned so much from them, but the sacrifice that a lot of them made was able to, you know what I'm saying, give it a path for me to be successful and them not to have to be in the streets no more.
Was there ever a time, man, when you felt like the streets were calling you as a young man, where you wanted to be in the streets?
Uh, I can't say that it wasn't a time. I mean, most of the time it came from like being around other people as when I was younger and just seeing the type of shit that they was doing. And sometimes it'll, you know what I'm saying, it'll excite me a little bit. But for the most part, it's like I feel like I seen the best at that. So it's like this shit don't really excite me as much as it excites them. Like even in high school, like I kind of stayed away from the dumb shit because I was so around that so much that I learned. I seen so many fuck ups from other people and all that shit. Of course, you're young, so you still fuck up. But most of the time I'm around 30+ year olds, and then I go to school with my age. So it was like I really never wanted to do it. I was kind of always the other dude. Like I could be around it. You know what I'm saying? I could be with you while you're doing the shit, but it's like I'm not really trying to do that shit.
How about when you were growing up, you ever see dudes, man, from your neighborhood or your father's friends that ended up with 20, 30, 40 years in prison?
No, for sure. A lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of them dead. A lot of them in prison. To be honest, most of them was probably more dead than in prison. To be honest, but yeah, I just seen dudes come home after doing a stretch, be home for a month, and then right back. It's over. Like now, this time is 20, 30, like you said, 30, 40, like football numbers. But
I
for the
asked.
most
Go ahead. I'm
people
sorry.
got, you know what I'm saying, gunned down than more people that got locked up.
One of the reasons I ask you that is because I want to know when you were like, yo, man, the streets, sometimes it seems exciting, but did it ever enter your mind like, yeah, that's the other, but this is the other part. My dad's homeboy's got 30, 40 years in prison, or, this dude got killed. Did that ever enter your mind like, man, that's what the end outcome is?
All the time, but not necessarily for me. It was more so for my dad. Like I'd be at home sometimes, and like if he's not there, that's I was conditioned for that to be the first thing that I thought about. If he ain't answering the phone, if he ain't coming back at the time that he said he was gonna be back, I'm thinking the worst immediately. I'm thinking, oh, he done got locked up or something happened every time. So that was kind of like my biggest fear growing up, more so than anything that had to do with me. It was my dad not coming home on his own terms.
Sometimes the streets are a necessity for a lot of young dudes, or young dudes feel that way, right? They don't, sometimes, man, their parents are getting high, man, selling the food stamps they ain't eating. So they're like, man, I'm not living like this. I'm about to get in the street and I'm about to survive. And this is the only thing that I know. This is my neighborhood. This is what it is. You weren't in that position, right?
No, I got to, I got to, I got to. I don't want to say reap the benefits, but I was a product of somebody that was in that position, and a lot of dudes that was in that position. So like I learned from them dudes about the, you know what I'm saying, having that necessity or feeling like you need to go do it and shit like that. So I ain't really never felt like I had to do it. They kind of showed me early like other ways to do it, other ways to get in. Like throughout my dad's whole time, he always had a legitimate business going on as well. He had car rentals, truck services, uh uh driving company. It just had a lot of other stuff going on. Real. I think it was doing real estate at one point. Like a lot.
Your father had his hands in a lot of things, a lot of legal businesses. Um, but eventually he does plead guilty in this case, right? I mean, I read all the paperwork. He pleads guilty and he's sentenced to 15 years. Do you remember what it was like that day? Did you go to court when he was sentenced?
I went to court for his initial case, and they gave him bond. He got a bond, and then we left, and they appealed it. So he didn't even we didn't even be able to, you know what I'm saying, get the bond because they appealed it like immediately, like after the court. And then it's probably like a couple weeks. I'm in the house, I'm in the bathroom, and he called me and he said that he just took a cop to 15. They were throwing 45 at him. They talking all these crazy numbers. He was like, man, I know I could come back for 15, and he'll come back for 45. So that was pretty much what he told me in the decision making. And he's like, you know what I'm saying? He just, for most of my life, he done made the right decisions I didn't see. So it wasn't really nothing for me to question. But it definitely, you know what I'm saying, for him just to call and say that, it definitely fucked me up initially. Just to hear like, damn, 15, the fuck? Like, that's technically his first offense. So it's like, that shit was a shock to me. Like I wasn't expecting anything like that.
You were in the court when the judge actually imposed the sentence or no?
Uh, well, they said they were, when I was in the court, the judge, uh, I remember, I don't know if it was the actual sentencing because he told me the 15 over the phone. So I don't remember if I went to court after that. But the last time I was in court with him, the judge literally said that I hope I'm still alive to revisit this case after like going over it, because he was like, I don't feel like you should get all this time. So that was kind of a relief, but it was like, okay, when do we get back in front of the judge? Like to this day, this is 2018, we haven't been back in front of a judge yet. So, and the same judge has approved for his trial to come back in front of him. And it's been like damn near a year now since he put that in. So I'm still just, I know it's a waiting game. It's you know what I'm saying? They do what the fuck they want us to, you know what I'm saying? They think they the heroes, but play like the villains. So, yeah.
But the point is, man, when your father tells you to 15 years, man, it must hit hard, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
What are you thinking? Are you thinking like, damn, man, I ain't gonna see my father for 15 years? Are you kidding me?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. But I'm also thinking like I'm optimistic, and you know what I'm saying. I done seen a lot of dudes like you said. One of my father's closest friends is he was facing life. Went into the law library, read his shit up, and now he home. You know what I'm saying? So I seen the worst of the worst come out and be successful. So it's like I don't really think that. I don't think he's doing a whole 15. I ain't got him doing a whole 15. That's just been my mindset since he told me that shit. So it's like it fucked me up, but I was like, he gonna be back.
No doubt. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself, right? And I used to tell people in prison, man, if you don't believe it, no one else will. And you have to stay focused. Positive thoughts, positive results. Let's talk a little bit more about you, man. Let's talk about some of the people that you've been around in Atlanta and stuff like that. I put up a video before where I talked about Lil Baby, right? And I told people, man, that I mean, he put it out there. This guy's his real father, right? Not the guy that passed away and all that stuff. The kid's name's Rodney Love. But what's the rapper Lil Baby like, man? When you meet him in person?
Nah, he was cool. It was cool. What's crazy, what's funny is that I met him. It was like a Juneteenth event, and me and my little brother were in Atlanta. We were just having a debate about. He younger than me, so he was like, yeah, I think Lil Baby could be big as Drake, and I'm like, man, you fucking tripping. How the fuck Lil Baby could be big as Drake? But it was just a little argument, and he dropped the bigger picture that same day. It's bigger than black and white, and the bottom of the hallway like a hit. So I see him that same day, and so the first thing I could think of, I was like, I gotta tell him. There's no way I just seen. We were just talking about him, and then I come see him. I said, my little brother said you're gonna be bigger than Drake. I was, and he's bust out laughing, like he was like agreeing with me, like, hey, Drake, like what the fuck? But he was cool, like he was real charismatic. He was, you know what I'm saying? He seemed like a cool dude. That was the only time I was around, but I done been around a lot of other cats in Atlanta, and the vibe I get from Atlanta is like they just want to see you win. If you're serious about your shit and you take it serious, you ain't on no bullshit. Like everybody I done been around from Southside to Ludacris to T.I., Jazzy Faye, fucking TM88, just a lot. Drummer Boy, even David. I just got back from Atlanta 2 days ago, and I'm working with David Banner on some stuff. And everybody that is pretty much in that, he's not from Atlanta, but everybody that's in that area is kind of like the same as far as like willing to work and wanting to see you win and just wanting success for somebody else.
Sounds like a lot of them dudes are good dudes, right? But let me ask you this from a personal perspective. Who's one of the best dudes you met down there in Atlanta that's in the music scene, the sports scene? I know I've seen you in I think a video with Allen Iverson. I think he was in one of your videos. Who was one of the best dudes that you met with, man?
Man, I would have to say David Banner. Even though, like I said, he's not from Atlanta, but I met him in Atlanta. David Banner and Drummer Boy. I say David Banner and Drummer Boy. They definitely are two people that like have been very vocal with me on things other than just the music, on things that help you, you know what I'm saying, move forward. And especially like not having my dad around, like I seek knowledge from, you know what I'm saying, older people. That's why I've gotten it from this whole time. So it's like that's why I search for. I'm not really trying to learn from the people that's around me. Not to say that I can't, but I'd rather learn from people that got success, that's been through the trial and error, people that have been through the ringer, people that was at the bottom and then got up and then went back to the bottom and got back. Like I'd rather learn from that. But David Banner and Drummer Boy definitely have been two people that have been throwing them the alley oops to me since I met them, and with no reason. They don't have to do that at all. Like they just doing it.
No doubt, man. I'm sure most all them dudes know who your father is, right?
No, for sure. Yeah, they know. Even they ask about that, like to be concerned about something that you don't have to be concerned about at all. Like David Banner, I haven't even met my father. Every time I call him, he asks me like, "What's up with your dad? Like, what's going on with that?" Like, you know what I'm saying? So they concerned without having to be concerned, and that's what I fuck with.
So you had to take over. Your father goes to jail, you take over, man. What's it like in the music industry for you, man, having to navigate all that stuff as a young man? I mean, there's a lot of young dudes that are in the music industry, man, are trying to get in. They're watching this video probably. Tell them what it's like, man.
It was I always think of this Lil Wayne line of No Ceilings. He say, "Lock the CEO up." Now I'm the CEO. Fuck. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of like it's the same. It was like, all right, he was the one making the move, the face that everybody knew. And now, even before he went in, like we would go around, like he wouldn't even tell people I was his son. He would say that this is my artist, just so they wouldn't have that bias. You know what I'm saying? Whether they don't fuck with him or do, you know, whatever it is, he said, "This is my artist," blah, blah, blah. And then we move forward like that. So a lot of people knew me already as an individual as opposed to just being his son. So it was kind of like a good way to enter the game. But as time went on, of course, people figured out, and a lot of people already knew. So it was kind of like when he went in, like I said, a lot of the immediate team kind of scattered. Cause you know what I'm saying? A lot of these are other street dudes. So it's like, I don't want to be around some shit that just got, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what's going on over there. So it's like the caution thing or scared or whatever. But on the opposite side of like the actual music thing, it was like, well, if he was the reason why we doing all these shows, why I'm going all around, why I'm in Atlanta, why I'm all that. So it was like, okay, I got to figure out how to get there, because it's like streets obviously ain't the answer. Not for me, right? Not just jump. You can't just do like that, jumping in after, you know what I'm saying? That don't work like that. So a lot of my shit just been taking risks and building up off the relationship that I already built. So I was lucky to have him for the time that I did have him. And I almost looked at it like when he went in, it was like coming off the bench. Like your jersey didn't got when Drew Bledsoe gets hurt, Tom Brady got to come in, like and turn into Tom Brady. Like that's how I look at it. I just look at it like, okay, now you gave you all the he gave you all the tools, he gave you all the game to navigate it. And now just, you know what I'm saying? Do what you do. It's just more shit. I look at every time some shit happen, I just like, well, there's more shit to rap about.
There's always something to rap about, right? I mean, life goes on every single day, and even with your father, when he introduces you as his artist because he wants people to respect you for you. He don't want them to be like, oh yeah, man, your son. No, either judge it how it is. If he's good, he's good. If he's not, he's not. You know what I'm saying? I do want to touch on something before we get ready to close, right? What's this kid's name from Florida? The Melly kid, right? He's in the music industry. He catches a couple murder cases. Looking at the possible death penalty, right? What do you think about that, man?
I've been watching it. I haven't read any of his things like in depth. Like I've only seen the headlines and stuff, and it seemed like pretty fucked up from the jump. And like I don't even understand like how he blew up that fast and then immediately goes into that. I don't know if it happened before he was popping or while he was popping, but either way, it's like it's something I constantly see with artists that are, you know what I'm saying, getting in position. And it's kind of I don't want to say disappointing because you don't know what's going on with anybody, wherever they at, like what happened. We don't know. Still, he hasn't been fully charged. He's been in jail for however long now. But I just feel like it's kind of like a cycle. It's like every artist, somehow always going through some legal shit. Like Pooh Shiesty locked up right now. Kodak Black in and out of it. I don't want to say we're targeted, but I definitely feel like we're targeted. But for his case specifically, I'm not 100% whether or not. I think the story is crazy. To be honest. That's why I'm kind of just watching, like, seeing how it plays out. I hope he ain't do the shit. I want him to be. I would love to see, you know what I'm saying, flourish and become a bigger artist. But if that is the case, then, you know what I'm saying? I seen they supposed to be making his cameraman testify. That was the last thing I seen. Like, I don't do that. Can you force a cameraman to testify? Is he a witness or just by default as being a cameraman?
Oh, they could definitely. I mean, they can't physically make you come up there and testify, but they could definitely put the bolts and screws to you, and that's what they do a lot. But the reason why I asked you that is this, right? Because sometimes dudes blow up like he did, right? But sometimes, man, they can't leave the street behind, man. They're still caught up in the street when, look, you just made your life a whole lot better, man. Keep pushing forward. That don't mean you got to forget about the people behind you or the people that you grew up with. But what it does mean is that, man, sometimes you got to make better decisions. I'm not saying the kid's guilty or not, but it's definitely, I read some of the paperwork in that case, and it's definitely a damaging case. Let's just put it like that, right? So that's why I asked you, because you're a young man. He's a young man. You're in the music scene. He's in the music scene. Yeah, he blew up, but guess what? Your time might be here. Your time might be a month from now. You might have that hit song in 2 weeks. You're working with Banner. You're doing different things. But really the message is that there's kids watching. And just think about, man, if you're on the right path and you're blowing up and you're doing the right thing, sometimes you have to leave that street life behind, man. You understand what I'm saying?
100%. I got to witness that firsthand. Like, I seen my dad try to, you know what I'm saying, like I said, he was starting a trucking business and like kind of, you know what I'm saying, really leaving it, you know what I'm saying, focusing his energy somewhere else. But it's like sometimes it should just catch up with you, or, you know what I'm saying, no matter how far you try to go.
For a young man, you definitely put across a message today and some jewels or whatever, but there's kids out there struggling in the street that maybe they didn't have a father that was up here, and they're struggling and they're hustling. What message would you give to kids, man, that are out there in DC right now, or out there in the streets in Baltimore or in Virginia? What would you tell them, man? They're caught up in the street right now.
I feel like I said, like you said, I was lucky. I felt blessed to have, you know what I'm saying, my dad around. But there's a lot of dudes, ain't nobody like my dad, but there's a lot of dudes that have that, you know what I'm saying, that knowledge, that wisdom, and is willing and ready to give it. But you guys, as a youngin', you got to be willing to receive it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel like nobody's just out here on their own. Like sometimes you come across stuff and you don't want it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of OGs that try to talk to youngins and they be like, they blow them off. But I'm like, You know what I'm saying? They still out here for a reason. So I always looked at it like that. Whenever somebody in a position was in a position higher than mine or older than me in the same position or older than me in something, I'm like, you know, they know something. That's how they still here. Because there's a lot of dudes that didn't know and fucked up, and now they not here. They either inside or upstairs. So yeah, I feel like you gotta find somebody that's around you and just you know what I'm saying, somebody that you trust or somebody you feel like got it, and just I don't want to say latch on to them, but it's like you gotta have some type of mentor, and it's like there's no way you can teach yourself all these things. Like even people say I taught myself how to do, like you learn it from something. So I feel like we just gotta find somebody in some type of mentor position and try to soak up as much game as you can.
Sometimes you got to be slow to speak and quick to listen, right?
For sure. And people used to think I ain't talk. People used to think I was quiet, like I was quiet. Like once I started rapping, people were kind of surprised. They was like, "He rapping?" Like, because I would just be there in the room, like just quiet, like what the. I mean, y'all like what the fuck I'm gonna say? Sometimes like I can't. I don't know what y'all talking about. But as I got older, I learned stuff. I was able to translate the shit that they talked about into raps, and you know what I'm saying, how it relates to my life or my position in it. And I was able to, you know what I'm saying, speak from my perspective, sort of like Kendrick Lamar or like J. Cole or like, you know what I'm saying, how they speak from the street aspect, but not necessarily them in the streets, how the streets affected them or how they are like the 1 foot that's in that you can't get out, or like the people you attach to and shit like that. So it's like I feel like the the mentorship is definitely one of the only things that could, you know what I'm saying, keep you from that path. Because all of them have a similar story of somebody, if it's not being a dad, somebody taught them something.
No doubt. So look, man, before we go, man, I mean, you want to plug any of your music? Where can people find your music at, and tell the people what you're doing and what you got coming up?
So y'all can follow me at Nucci Music. I got a single out right now. It's called Move, produced by Drummer Boy. It's been on a lot of radio stations, like from New York to Florida. And now we got New Orleans just picked it up. I done heard some Cali spins and XM radio, like it's going up right now. And I got more singles. I got a lot of music coming out. I got a lot of shit. But you know what I'm saying, make sure y'all stay tuned. In. A lot of videos, a lot of music, a lot of movies. I'm working in the film world too. So we got a lot coming on.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to link your stuff in the description so people can check it out. Sometimes I got trouble, man, linking stuff, but hopefully I can get that up there, man, and have people check you out, man. Keep doing the things that you're doing, man. You sound like a really intelligent young man. I appreciate you coming on the show, and hopefully things work out for your dad. He gets out, man. You guys team up and take the world, man, and put it in a chokehold. All right, man.
Appreciate it. That's exactly how I was going to go. I look at it like Emery, Jay-Z and Emery came on. That's how I look at it. That's going to be.
I'm going to tell people, man, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video with respect. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.